Right.
so that we can learn what not to do and make better decisions going forward. That's the part, and that's where we all need to be, and that's just money's that thing. Money's that super crazy emotional thing. It makes people cry. It makes people fight. It makes people crazy. And just being able to learn how to talk with your spouse about money, or to ask the right questions and not be afraid of it. There's so much emotion and everything that's wrapped up around money. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny that you say that because what are we taught from the time we're very little is you don't talk about money. It's like improper societally to speak about your money. And we're seeing that change slowly, but with the online community and this sense of I can put stuff out there and it's not really me. There's more communication going on. And now I feel like that pendulum has also swung the other way to some degree because I feel like the online community and online businesses are going to and are creating a whole nother play about money where, and you can tell me how you see this in women
Mm-hmm.
in entrepreneurial positions or multi-level marketing companies or whatever, but there's this idea of create it and it will show up. Like all you have to do is say I'm going to have $1 million, and somehow that's it. I have $1 million, and there's no to do behind it. It's just you say it, you speak it, you affirm it, you write it on the bathroom mirror and lipstick, and somehow that $1 million is going to materialize in your bank account. And then there are all the people out there on Facebook that may or may not be making six figures, or most likely they are earning six figures, but that's a gross number, and it's not taking out the expenses. And yes, they made $101,000 and it cost them 140 to get there. How often? I mean, that's prevalent in the online community, in the coaching world, at least in my experience, it's prevalent. I always talk in the net, and it drives people crazy because in the business world, everybody wants to talk in the gross, so they sound so big. And online on Fobook, as I like to call it, it's even worse. Everybody's putting it out there. So you talked about money being this super emotional thing. What is it you're seeing at Wine, Women, and Wealth and through Five Rings Financial and your clientele there? What are you seeing as the growth and the change, specifically for women, but also for men, regarding getting in touch with their numbers, understanding money, understanding not that I think people have an understanding that there's gross money and there's net money, but it's like they don't understand they're being sold to in gross numbers and they got to know what they're getting net. So what's that growth? What's going on in the financial world there?
So, here's what I know is that most people are very, very curious about money. Deep down inside, whether they want to admit it or not, most people are very, very curious about it because of what they see on, as you put it, faux book, or what they see. Perception is sometimes everything, right? And one of the things that we talked about on Saturday when we talked in front of everybody is that we had definitely put out a perception of who we were, and then we were going to share the flip side of it of what who we actually were. And perception is that thing of and everybody wants that whole can I have this for very little work?
What is it about, right?
Yeah, like, oh, there's got to be a home run and I don't really have to work for it anywhere. But what I'm seeing at Wine, Women, and Wealth is that more and more women are very, very conscious that they really kind of run the show. When it really comes down to it, is that the women know that the buck is going to really stop with them, and they're going to have to, at one point or another, be in a situation where they're going to have to make either some hard decisions or really kind of take things over. And so most people are very, very curious about it and they want to understand it. They just don't know where to get good information.
Well, it's really
And
hard. I mean,
yeah,
finding really good financial information is really hard because it's also a business. And I know this, I know this from personal experience. You're sold something saying this is going to take you here, and then only through exploration, after having had that something, product, whatever it was, do you find out that that's not exactly what that does.
Right. Yeah. So unfortunately, the financial services arena has done themselves a huge disservice because their middle name is greed,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really built. And if you've watched Wolf on Wall Street, I mean that's a true story. I mean everything that they have put together is all about. And I won't say that's the case for everyone, but there is that piece of you know I mean, it's so crazy. I mean, just the stuff that we hear from different people. Like one of the guys that I work with, he went to this big, huge, invite only, have to be really, really amazing in the financial services to get an invitation to go, blah, blah, blah. So, anyways, he went. And so it's this big training, and it had all different kinds of people there from different companies and different I guess specialties, that kind of stuff. But you had to be really amazing at what you did to get the invite. And so he was able to go. He went, and one of the pieces, the slide said, 98% of America is useless to you. Wow. I mean, doesn't that just blow your mind that this is what they're teaching most of financial services?
So they, wow. So that what they're saying is basically you want to only focus on the 2% who have money, and the rest of them let them go. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Wow. That totally just underlies why people are so worked up about money, because you don't know who to trust.
You don't know who to trust. You don't, I mean, and unfortunately, yeah, like financial services has just been, hey, what can I sell then to get the money out of their pocket and get it into mine?
Well, that's a lot of businesses. I mean, we have to be honest here.
Right.
Business is about making money, period.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then it comes down to that humanness of being told. So I have this new word, societized. I've decided we're all societized. And so in that societized place, there's this idea that what makes you valuable is how much money you have, how many things you can buy. And so this really just feeds right into that. And then you add to that the other 98% who aren't being served in any way, shape, or form are sitting there, and we can feel that.
Yeah.
We know that we don't have the money for you to work with us. Not you personally, Ubiquitous You, of course. So what does that do, especially to women who, A, it's been my experience that women often are the spenders, and B,
That would be the assumption. I don't know that that's necessarily always the case, because we've talked money personalities, but yes, that is the assumption that most women are spenders.
well, that is the assumption, but sometimes it comes down to the role they play within the family, because
Exactly. Yep.
they look like the spender because they're the ones providing all the clothing for the children and the husband and the wife, and they're the ones providing all the food purchases for the husband and the wife, and they're the ones usually, oftentimes, women are the ones writing the checks for the bills. Well, nowadays it's going online and paying the bills. So they often are set up in a way, I have found in my experience, for me, I was always set up in the way that I did all of those tasks for the family. So thereby I looked like the spender.
Right.
And yet everybody else had what they wanted or what they chose, clothing wise or shoes wise, and I was wearing Target. Not that there's anything wrong with Target, but you know what I'm saying. I wasn't out at, Nordstrom. I wasn't even at the rack. I was literally getting my clothing at Target.
Well, and that's part of how, we have a natural nurture part about us, is that we're always take care of, everyone else, make sure that they have everything. And then if there's anything left over, then we'll do a little bit for ourselves. And so we're so used to sacrificing all the time that, if there's enough time left in the day, we'll do something for ourselves. If there's, enough, spending, maybe I'll go get myself a new outfit or go get a massage or whatever. But that's how our DNA is. That's just, men are built to be hunters and gatherers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so most men, I won't say all, but most men are built to provide, and if they cannot provide, it's really hugely detrimental to their psyche and their emotional state and all of that, their identity. I mean, it's just, it can be a rut for a lot of men. So, it's, understanding those kinds of dynamics can be really huge. But yeah, for us women, like all of us, by I think it's like 2020 or something like that, like 60 us women will be in charge of 67% of the wealth in the company in the country.
Wow.
So yeah, so finding someone that we can trust, that we can learn from, or a group or something where we can get support, because that's one of the really cool things about us women is that we can build relationship, we can build community, we can do support. I mean, and it's weird too, because one of those stigmas about women is that we're catty and we're spiteful and we drag other women down or whatever. And I guess I just don't really see that. I mean, every once in a while you kind of run into it, but I just don't really see that so much anymore. What do you think?
Well, as a whole, I don't see it. I do see women doing it when they find themselves in a position where they feel lesser than they want to. And then I do see women lash out at each other.
Yeah.
And that speaks to what I teach, with Just Own You, is I hear this a lot. Well, she made me. No one made, no one, we're not five. No one made you. And even when you were five, no one made you. It's really about gaining the perspective and being willing to have the perspective that when we have a really strong emotional response to somebody, the place to be looking is within.
Right.
And I think you handle that very well when you talk with women at Wine Women and Wealth specifically about money. You again, it goes back to that compassion piece that we talked about. Where you're because of the experiences you've had, you're very compassionate about helping people not fall down. But part of that is, when we're together, we aren't catty. Women aren't always catty and mean to one another. But then again, Kristen, those women are all choosing to be at Wine Women Wealth. So we all have an agenda. For me, the agenda is to get to Wine Women and Wealth on a Tuesday and have wine. I don't know what anybody else's agenda is. But it's funny that this comes around to that, because tell me the title of your book again, or your journal.
Own Your Future.
That's it. Own Your Future. Let's talk about owning your future. So how did you get the title?
It was one of those things where this came from. So shortly after we finally got to that space where we could just breathe and just figure out how we're going to move forward and really, really just kind of build this new life, this new future for ourselves. I had to really figure out, I had to figure out how to attain goals again. I think in high school, it was ridiculously easy to be very successful. It was great. It was easy for me to get good grades. It was, I worked really hard in my sports, but because I was able to do that, I don't ever remember really being like, oh, I want to get this goal and I want to get this, I want to become all conference or, whatever. I don't remember actually writing that down. I just worked really hard and I got it. Same thing through college. It was easy to show up and do all that and become really, really good. One of the goals was, hey, can I play college in volleyball? And so I was able to do that. But then afterwards, attaining those goals became a little bit harder. But it was just I didn't really figure out how to do it, and the SMART goals really never resonated with me. I would do it, and I'm like, okay, I'm following the steps, and it's very clinical, and okay, great, I'm doing it, and then I'd kind of fall down on my face. And it wasn't until after all of life happened and all that kind of stuff, I was like, you know what, I really got to figure this out. And I was able to work with someone who was able to chunk down my big vision into bite-sized pieces that were very, because I struggle with getting in the weeds, but he